Sham, so last year I changed the whole trajectory of my life in just a 6-month time frame. Just 2 years ago, I was at the lowest point of my life. I had over 30K of debt, and despite making $50,000 a month in the agency that I co-ran, somehow I always found myself in a position where sometimes I didn't even have money to buy food some days. Now, honestly, it was a place that I never imagined I would experience when I quit dentistry 10 years ago, with the dream of one day becoming part of the new rich that Tim Ferriss talked about in the 4-Hour Workweek when I read it back in university in 2011. It was a simple idea in that book: build an audience, create a product to sell, then sit, chill on a beach somewhere and work only 4 hours a week whilst the dollars roll in. Simple in concept. And 2 years ago, I felt like maybe it just wasn't for me. But then last year, everything changed, and it changed very fucking fast. In just the past 5 months, I've made more money in my consulting business than I have in the past 5 years combined. And I've done it all whilst traveling all over the world. In January and February, I went skiing in the Andorran Pyrenees and the French Alps. I went to Dubai for the first time in March to hang with a bunch of 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs. In April, I ran the Ibiza Half Marathon, and then I spent a few weeks in Barcelona where I hosted my first ever mastermind for my clients in Scale 20, and also competed in High Rocks for the second time with a bunch of my clients too. So last month, I averaged about 10 hours of work per week. And my creator business pulled in a record $161,400 in new business in April. And that's without a sales team, no closers, no setters, and no sales calls. So it wasn't quite the 4 hour per week that Tim promised me, but I'm gonna take it. So in today's video, I'm gonna take you through the exact 4 steps that I call the 10.0U toolkit that I use to completely change the trajectory of my life in just 6 months. Hey, just before I go through this, I do have the entire step-by-step process mapped out in a free course and a Notion dashboard that takes you through it. It's in my free community called Scale, and you can get it through the link in the description. Okay, so step 1 is you need to get clear on your vision as well as your anti-vision. So what do I mean by this? You need to get crystal clear on the life that you want. What does your perfect day look like for you? What are you doing? Who are you with? What are the things that you do on that day? The sick thing is you actually get to choose how you want to spend your time. And I know that's a mad thing to say, because when we grow up, we are told that the only way to live a life is that you go and get a job and then you just get told what to do by your bosses. Well, the sickest thing is you're your own boss, so you get to choose exactly what you get to do each day. The key to this, though, is actually deciding what you don't want to do on your perfect day. Again, kind of mind-blowing, right? You get to choose what the hell you get to do and don't want to do. So take the time to think, like, what would the perfect day look like for you? And then get really crystal clear about this. I want to know where you're going to be living. So which country, which city, which town? Get really specific. And who are you going to be living with? Do you want to be living with friends? Do you want to be living with family? Maybe your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife? My auntie, I don't care. You better not make it my auntie. Okay, next is the biggest cheat code that too many people just don't do. People think that they need to reinvent the wheel when they're building a business. And the truth is, below $10 million a year, the business has already been done. And if it hasn't, it means there's no demand for it. So go find someone who is doing what you vaguely think looks cool, living the lifestyle that you like the look of. And guess what? We live in a time where you can literally see that just by opening up Instagram and being like, oh, that person's living a cool looking life. Now, obviously there's a caveat with this, is that sometimes Instagram isn't reality, but still, you just need to go find someone that is doing the kind of shit that looks really interesting and exciting to you, and then just model and reverse engineer off that. So go find them. You should at least have 3 people that you're like, okay, I'm going to model myself on that. Okay, once you've done that, I have 2 tools that I use every single day to make sure that the vision that I have set, I am working towards. So the first, you will have heard of this, is creating a vision board. I have 3 vision boards up on my wall there, which have my perfect life all mapped out for me, and that is where I'm heading to, and I've got it there and I can review it every week, every day, and this allows me to just stay crystal clear on, okay, this is where we're heading. there are going to be some things that you put on your vision board that you never actually get to, or maybe you actually want to change and shift something in. The point is that you have to have something. So get something done. Pinterest, use Canva. Canva have a load of whiteboard making apps and templates. Just go and use those things. Get really clear on all of the things. If you want things, go put things on your board. If you want experiences, go put experiences on your board. If you have goals and you have targets, go put them on your board. So I've got my goal of 100K subs on YouTube. I've got my goal of 200K followers on Instagram. And I've literally like Canva shopped the numbers onto my profiles for me to be like, okay, that is there. It's just a matter of time. The second tool I use is a tool and a method I think it's called scripting. And this is where you just actually script out the vision of your dream life in words. And I have 2 statements that I use and I read every single day. The first one is my new identity statement. And this is a process where I have gone and created this kind of movie character like person who this is the kind of standards, this is the identity, these are the different things that this person encompasses that isn't me. And I read this every single morning. I've got a bit of a hack, like if you turn it into an audio so you can literally read it out and play it to yourself, that takes things to the next level. The second tool that I use with scripting is called the Future Identity Statement. It's from the book, The Millionaire Master Plan. And it's a really short exercise. It'll take you a couple of hours to do, but it's where you plot out the next year. So you look ahead just 1 year and you're like, what do I want my life to look like in a year? What are the goals that I'm going to hit in a year's time? What does my lifestyle look like in a year's time? All of the little things that you will map out, you'll go and do that. And so if you want these things, like I said, I've got the step-by-step of how to do these all down in the link below. If you go and apply to join Scale, then you will get this with a Notion dashboard that literally walks you through these. It'll have all of the prompts so that you can create your new identity statement and your future vision statement too. Okay, so once you have got really crystal clear on your vision, visually, you know exactly what your life looks like, and then also you've scripted it out with words. Now it's time to work towards your vision with what I call the 3 F's. The first F is faith. And for me, in my world, faith is the belief that everything is working out perfectly for you. And the biggest shift that you have to make as you enter entrepreneurship or as you're trying to grow as an entrepreneur is you need to turn fear into faith. So all of those worries, all of the fear of what could go wrong, all of those things that in your mind, you're like the what ifs, you need to turn them from a what if the shit happens to what if I get everything that I could ever dream of? And you radicalize yourself with positive thoughts so that no longer you have any thoughts of what could go wrong. And in fact, all you're thinking about and reminding yourself every day when you wake up, all day, every day, is what is going to happen when everything works out perfectly for you. Okay, so I've got a couple of fun tools that I've used for this. The first is we need to get you into a state shift. You need to go from being the extra in a movie to being the motherfucking main character in your own movie. You need to get into a mind state where you cannot lose. The main character always wins, and you're the main character, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And you need to get yourself into that mind state. So big shout out to Jack Hopkins. Some of you may know him, but I saw a video of his last year talking about how he listens to rock music to get himself into this state shift. And so the biggest thing that I've done in like the last 12 months, honestly, is I start my day listening to 80s and 90s rock bangers. So I just pump the music super loud in my bathroom when I'm having a shower. And I'm talking like songs from AC/DC, Motley Crue, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Guns N' Roses, all of the absolute bangers. And then I throw in a couple of like movie theme songs, like the Rocky IV theme song, Top Gun, like Highway to the Danger Zone. So every morning when I get out of the shower, I am ready to run through a fucking brick wall because I am so pumped to get into the day. And the biggest shift I've done is I've gone from listening to fucking just lame shit music, like classical music and all that kind of stuff, kind of soppy, like sad music, making me kind of think just too introspectively, to I am going to fucking kill it today. I've had some of my clients do this and the shift is just massive. So I'd recommend you try this out. Okay, so next up, you need to brainwash yourself with what I call radical positivity. And this is getting words that keep you, frankly, broke out of your mind completely and just using a completely different lexicon. So I kind of call this the shift from the broke person's lexicon to the millionaire's mouth. And there are kind of like 3 phrases that they're like toxic to me. So the first is maybe. So instead of using the word maybe, I use I will. The second is one that really gets me going. If I ever hear people like my friends or people that I know say this, I tell them no more. Hope. The word hope, this idea of hope, is where dreams go to die. Hopefully, hope, whenever I hear that, it's like triggers me. Instead, the words to use are when I. Okay, so we're going from hope to when I. The third is along the same lines, and it's the word possibly. Again, hate when people use that word. Instead, it's going to be definitely. So to radicalize yourself with these things, this is what I'm going to recommend you do. So every morning, we're going to read your new identity statement and your future vision statement. That's going to be one of the first things that you do in the morning. I do it kind of like after I wake up. PowerPoints for you if you go create an audio version and listen to it at the same time. I did that and I put like the Tron soundtrack behind mine. And I think I showed it to some of my clients and they're like, what the fuck? That's like literally next level. So go try that out. I also have my affirmations on my lock screen on my phone. So literally every time I look at my phone, I've got all of these positive phrases that I read, as well as my main goal. Every single morning, just before I get into work, I do some journaling. So I go through and I write a bunch of stuff that I'm grateful for. And I actually feel the gratitude and being grateful for this tiny things, like having a roof over my head, living in my dream apartment, having a computer that I can work on and work around, with people all over the world. All of these little things that typically people just forget about. I make sure I do that. And that's been a massive for me in the last couple of years. And then just before I get into work, I remind myself of the top 3 goals that I have for the month. Whether it's a life, business, or personal goal, I just get the top 3 goals written down. So every single day before I get into work, I'm crystal clear on what the mission looks like. Okay, right, now we're on to the second F. And the second F is focus. You need to protect your attention at all costs. And the sad thing is we live in a world where your attention is being attacked by the smartest motherfucking nerds in the entire world through your phone and all of the digital assets that you own. Now, the key to this is you need to transform the way you use your digital things, and instead of being used by them, you need to use them as weapons. This is how I do it. You need to go from always being in reactive mode to being in proactive mode. Aim for at least 2 hours of completely uninterrupted deep work in the mornings. This is where I focus on the highest leverage tasks only. So things that are going to move my business forward like a huge amount. So for me, it's either creating content, mainly for my clients, also for you guys. Then the second is systems, creating systems that will build leverage, automations, or it's hiring. So finding someone else that can do the work that maybe I'm not that great at. Okay, so when it comes to focus protection, I look at things at a kind of like a general protection level and then at a micro protection level. So we'll go through both. What we're aiming to do here is reset your dopamine addiction. So if you're used to scrolling on your phone, reacting to notifications, constantly allowing the world to grab your attention, then these things are going to help you completely get rid of that. So the first stage to this is general protection. This is where we're just going to take all of the habits that we probably currently have and we're just going to kick them out. So we're talking no news. We're going to put the phone on do not disturb mode all the time. And we're going to get rid of all notifications and badges from your phone. So there's none of those like red things on any of the apps. None. Zero. One of the biggest things that I've done as well, if you're kind of getting into the creator space, the best move that I ever made was making a professional Instagram account. And what that meant is that I could just basically take my personal private account, and I never go on it now. And that was the account which had all the like followings of like meme pages, all of the shit that I followed when I was younger and used to just grab my attention, the news, all of that stuff. And so with my professional account, I'm only following either people that I look up to or I can learn from, or like golf shit. Next up, we've got what I call top and tail protection. This is when we are going to protect the most critical parts of your day, when you wake up and when you go to bed. If we can protect these 2 slots at the beginning and the end of the day, then everything else will fall into place. Okay, so here's what I try and do. The biggest thing I try and do is I want to get to 12 p.m. with no distractions whatsoever. I'm talking none. No DMs, no social media, no email, no notifications, none of that stuff. No reactive work whatsoever. The cheat code that I use for this is an app called Opal. I'm not affiliated, not sponsored. None of that shit. I just promote shit that I use and it works. I know there are other ones out there, at least for iPhone, this is what I use. And it physically blocks my access to social media and messaging apps, WhatsApp, email, social media apps from blocks that I can create. So I create a block from 5 a.m. when I wake up to 12 p.m. And if I need to unblock it, in the rare case that I do, I will do it, but generally speaking, I don't. So the next thing that I do to top and tail the ends of my day, to maximize myself for really just like flow states the next day, is I start the day with reading 10 pages of a book, and I end the day by reading 10 pages of a book. So I've read 20 pages in a day, which takes about half an hour of reading. It's about 15 minutes each side. And that gets my brain primed at the beginning of the day and also winding down and gets rid of all the kind of like dopamine stuff that's been going on during the day. And it gets me to a state where I can actually enter sleep and recover. The final thing that I do is I don't eat in the mornings. So I have a coffee when I wake up at around like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. So I wake up at 5, at about 6:37, that's when I'll go for a walk and have a coffee. And that's all I'll have. I'll go to the gym from about 10 to midday, and then I'll have lunch. But before then, I've just found that I am way, way, way more focused if I don't eat any food. Now, the key to this is frankly just staying away from carbs. You can eat high protein stuff or protein in the mornings, and that's going to be fine. But I've just found if you go for carbs, your mind is just going to be foggy and blurry. Now, if you do all of these things and you can get 2 to 4 hours of work done, focused work on high leverage projects every single morning, at least 5 days a week, then I am totally happy being in reactive mode after that. So in the afternoons, come at me. I mean, I don't turn any of my notifications on, but I'm absolutely fine being in reactive mode, doing some tasks here and there and flicking about on stuff, because I know I have absolutely punted my business forward in the morning. And the truth is that I know that if I get those 2 hours of work done in the morning, I've done more work than most people will do in an entire week, just in a couple of hours. So I'm totally cool just flicking about stuff in the afternoon. Okay, so the final piece of the puzzle here is the final F, which is flow. Yeah, you actually have to do the work. So this is how I do it. The first part to this is actually about understanding which entrepreneur archetype are you. And I'll use a little, some common people that you will be familiar with. The question that you need to answer is, are you a creator type entrepreneur or are you a builder type entrepreneur? Do you love creating stuff? Do you like making content, putting stuff out into the world, like basically like art? Or do you like building stuff? Do you love being behind the scenes, like making little systems, doing automations, doing all the stuff kind of like that is the back end? Basically, are you a front end person or are you a back end person? The way to look at this, if you know the entrepreneurship space, is, are you an Alex Hormozy, who is definitely a creator? He loves like writing, that's his main thing. Or are you a builder like Layla? She's the back end person, she's the ops person, she's building all the systems on the back end. Which one are you? I'm a creator, that's my passion. I love creating this stuff, I love doing this stuff. And so knowing that first is really important. Once you know that, this is how you are going to prioritize your week based on your strengths with what I call the peak week method. So there's 3 main steps to this. The first is we are going to highlight the fun shit that we want to do in our lives. The very first thing that you put into your calendar in the week should be the fun stuff. Social stuff, date nights, sports, passions, all of the stuff that you love to do needs to go into your diary first. And it's really funny because typically in the online space, in the education space and entrepreneurship space, most people will put the social fun stuff or the fun stuff till last. And they'll try and squeeze it in. And guess what? If you do that and you get used to doing that, you will never, ever, ever get to a stage where you're like, I never have time to do the stuff that I love. And you'll eventually just forget the stuff that you love. And you'll end up just being a fucking computer nerd. For me, that ain't the aim here. Once you've got the fun stuff in, you're going to look at the highest leveraged projects and tasks. build those into your calendar. Like I said, content, systems, hiring, those are the big things that we're going to throw in. Once we've got those clear, we are going to put blocks into our calendar, typically in the morning, and we are going to estimate how much time it's going to take for us to do certain pieces of work. Now, if you have no idea how long it takes for you to do stuff, then there is one way to find out, and it's through doing a time audit. I've done this a couple of times this year, and it's quite simple, but it's quite hard to do. For 1 week, and I would recommend 1 week, some people do 2 weeks, what you need to do is you need to build a spreadsheet, and every single 15-minute interval, you need to write down what you have done in those 15 minutes. And then once you've done that, you will be able to look back, you can throw it through ChatGPT, and you'll be able to see, okay, what are the biggest things that I do? Where is there time that I'm wasting? And also how long it generally takes for you to do stuff. And once you've done that, you'll be better at estimating how much time it's going to take you to do tasks. Now, once you've built into your calendar what I call kind of macro optimization at a high level, we're going to go into micro optimization, and it's time for you to actually get the shit done. What we are trying to do here is to optimize for what's called flow proneness. So this is the ability for your body and mind to actually get into a flow state. There's a couple of little hacks that I use. One of them is juggling. So sports people, I've seen this from some sports people, but like juggling, I have a couple of juggling balls, can help just trigger you into flow state. But honestly, the best thing to do is just get some noise canceling headphones on, put on like a music mix. I listen to like melodic techno mixes, typically 2 hours long, so that they don't kind of like end before a couple of hours. Something like maybe binaural beats. The biggest thing I would recommend that you don't do is work to classical music because it's shit. And then finally, all you're going to do, get your Apple Watch or some watch or a kitchen timer and put a timer on. Estimate how long it's going to take you to do these kind of tasks, and then put half an hour, an hour. When the timer's off, actually review and see what you've done, and just have some kind of like intention about the work that you're doing. Once we've covered actually doing the work, we need to make sure that we are positively filling back our kind of like bucket of energy. And what I do is I do mindfulness accumulation throughout the day. So this is where I do mindfulness types of exercises and practice. So it could be meditation, breath work, cold exposure, sauna, zone 2 running, just anything like that. And I try and accumulate that throughout the day to at least get about half an hour. If you do that, you're actually going to recover every single day so that you can go back at it the next day. But if you don't do this, this is the recipe for burnout. And the second biggest recipe for burnout is not having a deadline. It's really easy to do, especially if you're in the solopreneur stage and you haven't quite gone to the full entrepreneur stage. When you don't have anyone to kind of like keep you accountable to deadlines, it can just go and go and go and go. So the way to kind of get away from this is I work in sprint cycles. So typically this means that I'm on for about 4 to 6 weeks where I'm focused and I'm trying to get things done. Typically, I might have some longer days occasionally if I feel like I need to get some projects done. But then I'm going to have at least 2 weeks where I can review, I can reflect, and then I can realign on the next like goals and projects. If you do this, then I promise you, you won't feel burnt out. And the best way to do this is that during those 2 weeks, book in a vacation or a holiday or a trip or something. And it can be just like a long weekend. It could be 4 days. It could be a week. But if you don't have those in your diary, in your schedule, then you will constantly feel like you are just on this hamster wheel that you never get off. Okay, so that's basically everything that I did to completely change the trajectory of my life last year. And you might be thinking, shit, that's a lot. Damn fucking straight, it's a lot. Have you ever heard anyone say that winning is easy? Okay, so the key to all of these is that you must adopt them with 110% full commitment and belief that they work, given enough time, practice, and repetitions. If you do not, you will have already doomed them to fail. So give yourself 1 full year of doing these, and I promise you'll thank me for getting you to commit. So if in doubt, design the vision of your dream life and create milestones to get there. Brainwash the way you speak to yourself with radical positivity and protect your attention like it's the most precious asset you own, because it is. Once you nail these down, then you need to reverse engineer a game plan. If you want to know the exact game plan that I've used to grow my consulting business to over 150K months, go watch this short video next. Right, that was sick. I'll see you in the next one.